Can you see my screen? I'm sharing my screen.
Not yet.
Visible?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, yes, the screen is
Okay.
visible.
So now let me take out the syllabus. So this is just gist. Okay, there are a lot of things inside. So week one means week one actually technically today's the week one, but we'll stretch a bit far to the next week. Okay. So since you are not new, you have little bit of experience. So I'll just you know run through these concepts. Means at least we'll cover these things. Okay. And
Okay.
oops concept, though, we will start, but it will be continued till next week also. Okay. Debugging exception handling also we will discuss. So see this like this four things look small, but you'll get maximum questions from here, especially on the oops concept. Like they will ask why you use abstract class. Like when an interview starts, generally what
Mm.
happens is you'll be asked the basic of C sharp because that's the core, right? So
Yeah.
oops concept, then some of the advanced concept like they may ask you what is anonymous methods, lambda expressions, okay, how you handle what is generics, then how you do parallel programming, some of the questions from there, and then they'll go to the link, sorry, entity framework, okay.
Mm.
Then they will go to the web applications, like may ask you what application you're using, how you're authenticating, authorizing, how you're handling routing and all this. Some practical questions. But most of theoretical questions will start from the C sharp side, okay, because that's the starting point and that's the core, right? That's the language based on which the
Yeah.
.NET framework is based. So, yeah. So, data types, operators, and loops. You can follow the Microsoft Docs, but I'll start writing some of the data types. Okay, and I'm using the console application for today, but for the next session onwards, since it's a ASP.NET training, we'll be using like ASP.NET. Okay, so that you'll have more more feel of the website. Although we'll not do much on the website like creating views and all, we'll do simple program of the hooks. But since you'll be familiar with the razor syntax and all. Okay. When we'll
Okay.
actually start the ASP.NET, you'll be at least you'll have the idea what is the project and what are the things and all. Okay. So today
Mm.
we'll create simple console application, but going forward it will be a web application using Razor syntax, or that is called in this ASP.NET MVC code. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so data types. Um, yeah. And before I want to know your feedback, like you want to go deep or start like very basics.
No, I'm good with the like you just go through whatever is important, and
Okay.
if I don't understand, I'll stop you then and
Yeah.
there. It's fine.
So yeah, I will tell you. So we'll start. So as you know, C sharp is a object-oriented language. So object-oriented language means what? We focus more on there are a lot of concept in the hooks, but more main basic concept when you start with any object-oriented language when C++ was developed, reusability. So reusability means what? A related like you have a logic and you want to want to that use that logic. Let's say there is an add method. You want to reuse again add operations. You want to reuse it again and again. They created a method add. Now, similarly, you can create a remove. You can subtract, multiply, divide. So you now those are similar operations you wrap up in a class. Okay, that is called encapsulation, right? Now we'll
Mm.
cover deep. So uh, so basically, the main starting point of any program is that you have to you will do operations on some of the data. So how to store the data? So you need a variable for that. Okay. So I will write integer x is equal to 0. So here I will say that many three things. One is the data type, variable name, and value. Value is optional. You can give it like after declaration, or you can give it during declaration also. Okay. And one of the another thing is that access specifier. Okay. So in this case, it is internal. Okay. Like internal to
Mm.
the application. That means any variable that is like somebody is outside of the class. Let's say I'm outside of this class. Okay. if I try to write x is equal to 9, it will give error. So this is all known, right? So this is it's like when you declare a variable that is inside the scope. Okay. So when
Mhm.
we write a class or method, the starting and ending point we mean using curly braces. So the scope of the variable is inside that. So basically, when you declare a variable, we have to think of two things. One is access specifier, then your variable name, data type, then your access specifier data type and the variable name, then equals to value, but this is optional, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So mostly this data type and all is fine, but access specifier, they will ask what is the default access specifier. I think it is protected. Okay, I don't recall. So you will check and tell you, but this is protected. Okay, so same goes for your class. So if you do not specify any class, then it is called protected. Okay, I will tell you what is protected means. So that three like basically we have internal, then like we have like access specifier called internal,
Okay.
protected, private, public. So when we say internal, it is internal to that file. Okay. And when we call it protected, that is internal to that project. Okay. And when we call it as public, it is accessible to everyone. And when we call it as
Private.
private, it is strictly private to that class only. Okay. So we'll cover more access specifier when we'll go for the class level. Just I'm specifying now. Okay, just since I mentioned the data type and variable things, I mentioned what is access specifier, but it will more applicable when we go on the class level of we'll create multiple classes. Okay, that's where it takes more like the prominence is more or the use is more. Another thing is here you can see there is something called static keyword. Okay,
Mm.
static. So yeah, this is also very important thing. You can see main method also static. So I will discuss more on when we'll go on the method level. But just wanted to touch base on this. That static is something that is since C sharp is a object-oriented language. When you create a object of any class, then only it takes some memory. Okay, or
Mm.
the variable is created in the memory. You can say, okay, or the object is created in the memory. But when when you declare something static and you run the program, okay, although it is not like the object is not created for the class, but still memory will be taken because you do not need a object to be created to access that variable. Okay, when you something is static, it doesn't actually follow the oops concept. Okay, it has become like oops concept basically is what you create an object of the class and then you start using those variables, method, everything, right? But when
Right.
you say static, means it by default takes a space memory. Okay, and it is very useful in let's say this in case of void main. So void main is the starting point. Then like when .NET framework will invoke this application, then it has to start from somewhere, right?
Mhm.
It cannot create the object of its own because .NET framework only can call the application. Then application has to take over and it has to run by itself. So to do that, we cannot rely on a simple variable or simple method because who will create the object? Nobody is like I'm the starting point, right? So
Right.
it has to be static. Okay. So straightforward when the application is loaded, the void main method is there in the memory and it will the .NET framework will simply head the main method and it will start. Then the process will start. It will call further application, further logic or further code, whatever you have written. Okay, so some places where you need to access something without creating the object, you need the static variable, static method, or static class. Okay. Now,
Okay.
yeah, data types can be multiple type. Can multiple like we can have float. Okay. Then we can have float,
Double.
then string. Yeah, you know, right? Yeah. Then double. So if you go to the Microsoft Docs, you can see there are a lot of variable things. Okay. So let me show you C# data types. And follow mostly on they'll up, you can see gigs for W3 schools something, but follow Microsoft Docs because it will have the latest information. Okay. So see, there's many data types we have, like bool,
Mm.
SByte, decimal. So we'll cover few of these now. Okay. And I'll discuss a bit more on the string. String is very interesting type. Okay. Yeah. So let's start with few of the basic operations on the data types. Okay. So I'll go inside the main method, and then I will write something. Okay. So yeah, when you are writing a data type, you can write outside of the method also, inside of the method that you can see, right? You can write inside a class and write inside a method also,
Yeah.
but you cannot write outside of the class. It has to be inside a class. Okay. Yeah. So x is equal to 1. Should I do this or okay? Yeah, I'm just showing you. So yeah, so I'm not giving all the operations of the variables. Okay. What
Okay.
happened? I mean to say we will cover something called typecasting,
Yeah.
unboxing. Okay. That is more
Console.
important.
I mean, read line. Okay, it'll stop.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Oh, I understood. This is we have two console applications. So where I'm writing my program on the console app one. So I need to make this as a startup project. So yeah, if you have multiple projects and you want to run, let's say you I already told you there's a solution and inside that we have projects, right? So
Mm.
if you have like web application, console application, Windows application, and you want to by default start one of them, you can select a set a start project. So when you can run, we can run that project. Also, you have options to run multiple instance also. Okay. Like when you do here, I think when you do debug options, but I need to check actually. Mostly you can um, okay, there is options to start multiple projects together. That I'll check and tell you. Don't want to distract you actually. Okay, that
Okay.
I'll tell you. That is needed also when we do that for web applications. We will like make some calls, API calls. Then I'll show you. So yeah, this you can see right. 3 is coming.
Yeah.
So since you know most of the data type operation, I'm not doing. But let's say conversion or boxing unboxing. Let's say I declare a float. This is the very important you need to understand, and you may get some issues when you do real time coding. Let's say I declare a variable called R3 point. Let me, it's very visible for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just zoomed it a bit. So that you declare a float. Now and a difference between float and this is precisions. Like double supports more precision of the decimal point. Floats like supports less precision. The precision amount you can check in the Google on the docs. Okay.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah. So if you click on that, it will tell you float. Okay, six, as you can see, right? 15 to 60, 6 to 9 digit, 15 to
Uh,
27 digit, and 20. So it depends like how much precision you want, and that based on that you need. So let's say you want to just for one or two decimals up to 6 to 9 digits, then it is fine. But you want more, okay, you're doing some kind of calculations, mathematical and numerical calculations. When you need more, you can take double, and you want to go on safer side, you can take decimal. Okay. So
okay.
if then question should come if why not take decimals? It will accommodate float, it will accommodate double, it will accommodate decimal also, right? Any kind of data types like numerical data type comes, it will support, right? So why not take that? The question is that how much memory you need. See, what happens is when you declare something called float, it knows that it needs that much memory. Although like it needs up to 6 to 9 digits. So let's say it will take some chunk of the memory when it declare when the program is loaded into the memory. Okay, but if you see declare decimals, it will reserve more space, right? So when nowadays, like this kind of consideration nobody does, but it is very important when you do a very high performance programming. Okay, when you think that your data type is less, you just declare float so that when it will be loaded, it take less memory and you'll be like not go into a memory out of exception or any kind of performance issues. So it has to be very, it has to be very careful. And although it is like people sometimes overlook, but it is very you have to be very careful when it is a very performance intensive operation. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, coming to this, we have integer has very one more and interesting thing is that interesting when you write integer, it is basically a signed and unsigned means that means you can declare both positive and negative value. Like if I can write -1 also, it will not give you an exception. Okay.
Okay.
But when I write uint, it gives it means let's say you are expecting that my value should come positive. Sometimes some applications are very strict. Okay, if they like let's say you are a developer and you agree that I will do some operations and expecting a positive data type, they'll ask you to write unsigned integer. Okay, again it also saves some space because it doesn't have to care for the negative values, right? So I want to like how much integer supports uh, up to 32-bit. Okay,
Mm.
but unsigned supports 0 to this one. Okay, so in this case, the compiler can optimize itself. Okay, now there is another way to declare integer is also int 32. Okay, some program they will write like this in the raw format. Okay, they specify. So basically, these data types are called something called structured types. So when you the concept of OOPS, the two things structure and class. Okay, so class is object oriented. Structure is a not object oriented. It means you cannot create object of the structure. Okay, so most of the primitive data types or when you can say value types. Okay, value types means when you declare something, it takes a space. Like when this program is loaded, when let's say you create an object of this class and you're loading, although it is in system inside static means everything is static inside. Okay, if you're not declared static, right, you have to declare a method outside of a class. Sorry, variable outside of a class like this. Okay. So what happens is the when you create an object of a program class, everything will be loaded, right? That's how the this OOPS concept works. But structure, what happens is structures are value types. They do not need to be created as a object to be loaded. That means I'm not again creating an object of this one. Okay, this is structure. Structure means one when it is declared, it will take memory. Okay, since it is wrapped inside program, when program will be loaded, by default they will be loaded. They do not need to be specifically told that you okay, create an object and load. So that's the difference between structure and class. We'll cover a bit more, but I'm just touch base with you. Okay. Yeah. So I want to summarize again. So we are talking about how to declare different data types. Okay. Now I'm just you can write int 32. And in integer also, you want like more precision, more number of digits to be added. Then you go for long data type. Okay, long
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and you can write 0 or 0L also. Yeah.
Okay.
So or you can write like this also. 64 8 8L. Okay, both it supports. So sometimes what they do is um, they write int32, int64 like this also. Okay. And um, okay, we have to talk about the boxing unboxing. So now I have declared a long integer object. Okay, and I will assign to the long. So it mm, it will not give any error, right? Now, if I try to assign, try to reverse it,
Okay.
it gives error, right? It already
Yeah.
given compiler. If I run, it will stop. Why? Because long is has high precision, means it has high memory. It can accommodate integer, but
Yes.
integer cannot accommodate because integer has less memory compared to long. Okay, and yeah, so that's how you have to very careful when you with numeric operations specifically. Okay. Now the next or important or very very strange data type is string. Okay, and many people write uh, like many people whenever they declare data types they simply write string because string can accommodate anything, right? Because string is anything. I want integer can be string, a word can be string, right? Uh,
Mm.
a number of letters can be string. Okay, and string is immutable. So what it means to say immutable? Immutable means when I am let's say I declare another variable called int p and I write x. Okay, so what happens is I'm assigning the value to the p. Okay, so
Mm.
it takes create a separate memory and it is assigned. Okay, so that is true for value types, but string is not a value type. It is a reference type or it's the object type. Okay, reference type or object type. Whenever somebody says that, it is basically a class. Okay, string is basically a class. It's not a structure or it's not a raw data type or primitive type. It's basically a
Okay.
class, but it is immutable. Immutable means what? When I say when you will go to the class concept, you can see when you let's say there is object one. Since you know more, I'm just explaining with more. Okay, I'm not teaching you as a expression. So it is object one and object two belong to the both same class. Okay. When you assign object one, object two, basically what happens, you are assigning memory. So whenever you
Mm.
change something on the object two, it will reflect on the object one because both are literally using the same variable, same memory location, just two names. Okay. But as I said, string also like reference type. Ideally, when you write string s, string y is equal to s, means if you change something on the y, it should also be changed. S also should be changed. Doesn't happen. It is immutable means what? It creates another space. So this immutable concept you will hear a lot of times in OOPS concept. Somebody tells immutable because we are working on the object-oriented thing. Immutable, somebody says that means if you create another variable and assign the like assign the value to that variable using another variable, both use a separate memory. Okay. And why it is more important in case of string is that string is a class type. Okay, string is a class type. So when I think string s, actually basically I'm creating an object of string type. Okay, as
Mm.
s. So ideally when I assign I create another object y and then assign s. That means if anything I change on the s side, it should also reflect on the y. But that doesn't happen because string is immutable.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you are
sorry.
saying, so now y will be the whatever you said, yes, boss.
Hmm.
And then uh, if you
Let's
change
let's do some
s,
practical. Okay, yeah, let's do some practical. Then you will understand. See, I return the variable as s. Okay, fine. Like after the assignment, it will print this one. Now I will change something on the p is assigned means this value is assigned
mm,
to p. So p also pp also will also
should
write
be
the same. Now I'll change something on the pp. pp is equal to pp plus changed. Okay.
okay.
Now Yeah, yeah. And now I will check S as well, and as well as I'll check S. Okay, so what now what's the logic is, I created a variable called S, I assigned some value, I print it, so it should print the same value. Now I'll assign value of S to PP, I'll print, so it will assign the same. Now I change the PP to PP plus this one. So in now my conclusion that S should not be changed. S should be like this. Okay, not 1 plus ASD plus change, right?
Yeah.
Let's try. Let's do some practical and learn. Hmm? See, change didn't come. Okay, ideally what happens? I'm printing S, then I'm printing PP. Okay,
Yeah.
now I change the value of PP and S
Yeah.
didn't change. And when I said the question is then S is a reference type. Okay, that means ideally S should change when PP is changed because PP and PP and PP is assigned from S, right? So if PP is changed, S should change. Why it is not changing? Because string is a immutable type. Okay, this is very deep concept, but sometimes in the interview they ask. And why it is more important is that people what they do, and you will see when you go for coding. I declare a string variable str,
Mm.
and I'll write some value, and I am writing now my uh, requirement that we need to read a large file. Okay, so what I do is I'll do string plus, and I can concatenate using this one. This already you know, right?
Yeah.
Str1, then I'll concatenate using str2. So I'm concatenating string, and people go on doing this. Okay, what will happen is every time I'm creating a new memory space, you can see, right?
Yes.
If I do 1001 lakh means I'm taking that much memory. So to do that, actually, ideally, we should have taken a separate class on string operations, but I'll explain it here. Okay, since you know more on the data types, let's focus on string operations. And yeah, so ideally, then what you'll do instead of if small 2 3 lines of concatenation, fine. If you have to do multiple concatenation, there are a lot of things you can do using. You can use string dot. As I said, string is a class. It has you, you can use string dot concat. Okay, str and then uh, maybe some value. Okay, str2. Okay, like that. When you are concatenating, you can do using this one. Okay. Now,
Okay.
you want to assign some values, like you want to make the string empty a lot of times. So ideally, people what they do is str is equal to this one. So what happens when you're writing this double quote? It is also taking a memory. Okay. To reduce, improve the performance, you can use inbuilt string class as an inbuilt thing called string.empty. So it is always a good practice to use this variable instead of you hard coding the value to this one.
Okay.
Okay, so both are same. Understood? Now, also you can do string dot something called format. String dot format. What happens is you have a large string, but I'm writing some text, but I'm also getting some values. Means what is that? I want to get result from, I don't know. Okay, so what I'll read from some zero, and then uh, from one. That means I'm expecting some dynamic value to be added. Okay. So
Yeah.
in first case, what I'll do is I can use a string concatenator, like I can add string, like I can take this portion. Okay. Uh, and I can write, uh, then I will I want to write this 0 and 1 from integers. Okay, P and M and L. Let's say. Okay.
Mm.
So what I'll do is I will do means this is traditional way of doing that. Okay, it's still some of the function language they do like this also. What is that? M dot. So to convert anything to string, I can use this also. Okay,
Okay.
M dot to string. Instead of doing that, let's say I have 4 5 letters and I want to see the string in a proper readable format. Instead of doing that, what I will do is I'll write the string as a paragraph or as a letter. And wherever I need the dynamic value, I will mention curly braces 0 1 in that sequence, but that sequence has to be same.
Mm.
Now what I'll do is I'll just drag a little bit right. I'll write first variable that I want to print and next variable what I want to print. Okay. This is
Okay.
another way of doing that. Clear?
Okay. So
This is
this
like
string dot concat.
you want to you are creating a text or paragraph. Okay. And in between you
Okay.
want to embed some dynamic value. Then
Mm.
one way is that you use string plus a string concat and do that. But as a programmer, it will be very difficult for you to read. Like if I keep on doing this,
Mm. Mm.
you cannot read. But this one you can read easily, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is another easy way also. You can simply, and this is mostly being followed, and this is copied from I think from Python. Okay, this logic, I guess. Okay. So you can do one thing. You can write like this. Yeah. And you can directly write this word here or the
Yeah.
whatever this one. So internally the two string or everything it will take care. Okay. Um, I will write some n. Sorry, it's called n. Okay. So here in this case, I'm actually converting that to string. Okay. If, without converting, you cannot write. It will give you. It may not give you error, but it is like sometimes it may. Let's say it is we are doing something on the object type, so you're not sure what it is returning, so it may give error. So ideally they do two string. Okay, but in this case, there's no conversion needed, nothing. It's very simple, right? String dot format, and without string dot format, just write dollar. So string dot format means let's say you're working on older application like C Sharp 6.0 or below. I think below 6.0, then this dollar is not supported. You have to use the string dot format. If it is a later version, you don't have to write string dot format. Write like this. Okay.
Okay.
Now, as we are discussing the conversions, so there's one more important data type is date time. Not data, it's not a primitive type. So when you call about data type, there are two types. One is primitive and non-primitive. Primitive means integer, float. All these are primitive types. Okay,
Oh, sorry.
but
Repeat that.
like when you say primitive type means integer, long, short, then your
Okay.
decimal, double, float. All are primitive types, basic types. Okay.
Okay.
And date time are basically these are not the raw types. These are actually a class. Okay, date time is basically actually class, static class. So, but we mostly use as a to store declare some variable to store some date or a declare date. So we mostly use for variable operations. But when we talk about date time string, these are not primitive types, or not, rather they are not value types. They are reference types. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like they will not, it is not a basically interview questions. I'm just telling you. Okay.
Okay.
So, um, to declare date, you can use various like, uh, mm,
And even that string dot empty, string dot concat, is that the what do you call the guideline, the best way to write, or
mm, sorry.
like the string is equal to, you said na, empty open bracket close bracket, but instead of that you said string to use string dot empty, right?
Yes.
Like, is that the right way to do, or it still does the same thing, or is
If
that
you
the
yeah, if you want to write, for example, you want to write STI is equal to this one, no harm, no harm. And
oh,
if you see 90% of people do this, okay.
yeah,
But if you write string.empty, what happens whenever, let's say, multiple places you have to make it empty. That's a string is very tricky. Like again, I'm doing it empty. So every time this, when you write like this, what happens?
mm,
The right side actually compiler creates a variable internally, a temporary variable. When you say temporary variable means what? It will take some space, right?
yeah, mm,
Uh, Unnecessarily you created uh, two variables means you have consumed two space. In
okay,
string.empty is already been written. Okay, so you don't need to
oh,
type any of this, and you'll save some space. Because nowadays, actually, this kind of nobody bothers much about the space. Okay, especially
yeah,
on string operations. But sometimes this matters. Okay, so
oh,
let's say you are doing large file operations. You have been asked on a, yeah, on a project where you reading from the database and doing some transformation, some operations on the database and
mm,
inserting or maybe creating a large files, okay, especially finance operations. They create reports, share data with other banks and all. So sometimes you have to do large file operations. So this becomes matters, right? See, I'm doing right in one time fine. I'm doing inside a for loop of 10 millions or 1 millions, then that
mm,
matters, right?
yes, yes,
Hmm? So yeah, so this nobody will tell you, okay. Uh, but this is something you need to, very smart enough to do. So now I declare another variable string one. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll assign this to date and to string. I can mm, convert to date time. Okay. So I assigned a variable with a date format or a value with date format. It can take slash slash or dash also. Okay.
mm,
Then I can assign, and again I want to print this. So what I'll do is I'm printing. I can write to string. Sorry, I'm just giving a brief. Maybe date time will take a separate. When we will do this one, right? MBC applications, we'll do some date time operation. Then we will discuss more on this.
okay,
But yeah, but since it is we are talking about data types, date time is also important type. So I'm just explaining. I can mention the format. So I want dd slash mm slash y. So you can see when I'm mentioning should be in capital. Okay.
mm,
So and let's say you are in UK that for in India they format DDMMYY format, but in US MMDDYY format. And some
yeah,
places the client will say I want dash not slash. Some place they will say no I want slash. So those conversions you can do using this. Sometimes what happens when I'm converting this one this string. So I'm converting this string to date format, right? So
yes, the
you
one,
want to tell that okay, follow in UK format, not the US format. So you need to mention the culture of format provider. So you have to actually declare a format provider, and then you have to tell that okay, this date is not actually US format. This is UK format. We will discuss this on more on date time. Okay, I want to get at least 10 minutes of time to date time, and I want to explain there. It is also very important because and you'll see date time why I'll focus more is that now like we are working in applications which deploy to many countries, right? So globalization
mm,
and localization is basically a major issue. They'll say that
yes,
okay, I sent a date and data is getting correct because conversion is very wrong. Sometimes what they I want that precision up to milliseconds, and the developer stream only date time up to hours. Second, the client is expecting has sent date in DDMM format, and I'm just reading as MMDD format, and all hell broke loose, right? So so date is very very important. You need to understand whenever you do a working something, and you have been given the LLD or low level design, And in low level design, they will tell, okay, declare this variable, this will date time. You need to specifically mention which format. Okay.
Okay.
You have to, in application level, like what convention you're following. When we do a database of any data operations, should I follow DDMM or MMDD format internally? Okay. While displaying, you can display in any way. So when I'm declaring variable, which format I should use? Okay. Or which culture? So that is one thing. Yeah. So this is all about the date time. Let's run it and see.
This actually str1, right? That
Okay.
converted.
First, we are getting error here. Okay. I had forgot. This is you have to mention 0, 1. Okay. When you write string.format, you have to write 0, 1. So that's why it is giving error. We'll rerun it. Yeah, you will come to the date again. Okay. So whatever program we have written, just yeah, you are right, because we have not declared it as a str is not a proper date format. It gave exceptions. Clear?
Yeah.
So again, I will summarize. Date is you have a data type, then you have value, and you have access specifier. So by default, we do not mention any access specifier, means it will take the current scope. Current scope means it is inside the method, right? Void main. So that means if you cannot access outside of this method, you can access inside the method. Okay.
Okay.
And you want to access like multiple methods want to in a class want to access, means you have to declare outside of the method inside the class. Okay. Again, this is also if you want to access this method outside of this class, means it has to be either public or protected. Okay, by default it is protected, and that means yeah, in the same project the classes can accept, but outside of the project they cannot access. We'll come to that when we go for class level. Okay.
Okay.
So now mostly when we talk about scope, scope of the variable means it is inside the method. Outside the method you cannot access. Okay. And then we discuss about the string and about briefly touched upon date time. Now we'll talk about the typecasting. Okay, typecasting already we discussed. I will just tell you one more time. Okay, so I declared a variable integer temp1 or tc1 0, integer tc2 equal to 0. No, I will write something. Okay, let's say I'll declare this as a long. Okay, now this long I want to get assign the value of tc1. So basically what I'm doing is typecasting it. Okay, now what I'll do is I will do a boxing unboxing. This is also they will ask what is boxing unboxing, what is typecasting. You need to be careful on this. Okay, so I
Okay.
will declare call variable string. Oh, sorry, string str. Let's say 23. Okay. Now this string I want to, because what happens is when you read it from a file, you're reading from a file. So all the values are string, right?
Mm.
When you read from a file, you read in a string format. Now you have to convert, and you have to assign to the different values. Maybe I want to I read a date time, so I read from a string as as a string, but I need to convert to date time. And I read a like float or integer, then I need to convert to the respective type. So that conversion is called boxing. Okay, so yeah, integer boxing dx. Okay, and then what I'll do is I will do like this. Okay. dx I've written. Okay, or maybe what I'll do is I'll write a object type. Okay, basically, what happens is sometimes you're not aware of the type um, of the you know um, of the object. So basically, then you don't declare string; it declared as object. Okay. So internally, it is storing as a string, but it will convert it when you do a boxing by using a braces inside, and you mention the data type. I want to convert to this, but you have to be very careful because you are here. You hard coded, but sometimes you are receiving from another method, so you don't know. Okay,
Mm.
whoever created that method, and you need to be in agreement that okay, boss, send me only integer type. Okay, if somebody sends a float type, it will give error. We'll see. Okay. So I want to print this. Specified cast is not valid. Yeah, because why? Because I have declared as a string. So here also I made a mistake. I said like you need to send it as a string. Yeah, 23. Okay. So what happens is like you're trying to get some data from an unknown source, and you have to specifically parse it. Like I'm doing a parsing or unboxing. Then you have to very sure that what data type it is. Okay. So now question is that okay, what about I want to read something from the string. String okay, okay. Integer y or dx two. Okay. How I want to do into convert to this one to integer. So there is a
Convert.
class called next is provide custom dot into like system next is provide a class called conversion class called convert, and it has a static method called to entity epic 32, and it will convert to that version. You can convert using anti 32, anti 64. Okay, anti 64 means it is long. Okay,
Okay.
and convert to float. So convert namespace. And one more thing you want to see. I want to see what this class does. So you have to put your cursor over there and press F12. Okay, it will take there, and you can see right. And then you can see what are the implementation has been done inside. Okay, or you can see what are the method available for me. You can see convert to anti62. So you want to like experiment on your way, or you want to know some what is inside that one. So let's say I want to go inside the console, although it is written by the framework, okay, and the source code is not available. At least you'll see the signatures, okay. So what are the available methods, variable available for you, it will be visible, okay.
Okay. So
So
this is boxing and unboxing, huh? Like,
this is actually boxing unboxing, okay. Object type to value type and value to object type that we call as. So when you let's say I declare object ty. This is actually like conversion. This is not unboxing. This is boxing unboxing. Okay, yeah, don't get confused. This is very actually raw concept nowadays. Nobody is asking, but sometimes it is necessary when you do practically. Okay. Earlier, you like questions used to come from boxing unboxing, but I have not seen people asking these questions. But sometimes they may ask also. So you have to simply tell that okay, I have an object type and want to convert to a specific data type. That is called boxing. Reverse is called unboxing. Okay, reverse means what?
okay.
Now I have a this is called reverse. Okay,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
can see when you put your cursor, you can see the IntelliSense. This is what you are seeing on the pop-up is called IntelliSense. Okay, you already know
Mm.
that. Okay, if you are familiar with Visual Studio. So this is the one, huh? And so this is conversion. So mostly, yeah, people what they do is sometimes you can use like I think it is available. Not I need to check. Sometimes people what they do is Like, yeah, in case of, one second, sorry. So there is one more aspect of the string actually I want to tell you is that, let's say I want to convert this to a string again. Okay.
Okay.
Um, temp2, let's say. Now people do bx dot to string.
To the toastring.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can use convert dot to string also.
Okay.
Okay. And what is the difference? The convert dot to string supports your culture. Like, I have a string. This string, let's say it is a um, this string in when I'm converting, maybe I'm converting from now it's just integer. Maybe I'm converting from a object type, and that has some Unicode value like non-English characters. And you can tell the format provider that when you will discuss on this format provider, this is very important also. I can tell that use the Mexican format or Spanish format. So we have language specifications also. So when declaring the format, you can say that my language specification is Mexican. So it will convert to that, and you will get less
Oh,
error. Also, especially on the date time conversion, when you convert a date variable to a string variable, you can specify that format so that
the culture.
you'll not get exceptions or you will get the correct value. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
instead of doing two string, I prefer to do convert the two string. Okay. Yeah. So this is also another way, and this is boxing unboxing. Uh, yeah. And converting to integer type and to float is called typecasting. So boxing unboxing one thing, then the conversion is one thing, then another way is that typecasting. So already I demonstrated, but I'm just explaining again. Okay. Right, x is equal to, or I'll say float tc, yeah, this one, tc4 is equal to 6. Already explained the typecasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, it's a repetition, sorry. And I am declaring as int, uh, sorry, I need to declare the int and then I'll declare a float,
Yeah.
because int is less precision and int float has more
Mm.
precision. So this is called typecasting. So it is already mentioned, I'm not mentioning again. I'm deleting this one. Yeah. So basically, again, I'm recapping. Data types means you need to focus on the access specifier. By default, the scope uh, is the curly braces, like something you have written inside the method. It will be inside the method, and so, and you want to access multiple methods outside the method, means you have to declare in the class level. Okay. And also you can on a class level also, when you go to the class level, I'll explain again, but you can also declare like I want this method to be accessible outside of the class, I will declare as public. Okay. I want to declare outside of the class, but only inside of this project. Okay. Not outside the project. That means what we can is like I can create this class as a package or as a DLL. So when I and give it to other application provider or application or developer, or maybe I can use in another project. Okay,
Mm.
there this variable will not be available. I can declare internal, or I can declare protected internal. So what do you mean by internal? Internal means it will be available inside this
Class.
inside this no, not only inside this class, inside this project. Okay. And it will be like mm, it will be inside this file. File means if I'm writing another class, the same file, it will be available. Outside of the file, it will not be available. Okay. So
Okay.
outside of the file means I can create multiple CS files, right? So there
Yes.
it will not be available, although it is on the same project. Okay. Yeah. So
Okay.
they will ask, just revise on this whenever you go for interview. Okay, we'll share the list of questions. Even I also sometimes get confused. Okay, some people, like on the fly they will ask protected and protected internal. So
Okay.
yeah, just revise it. Okay. Yeah. So same goes for this one class on the method level also, and this access specifier same for method and like the definition same for this one, class and method also. But one thing is
Okay.
that they will ask what is the default specifier, default access specifier for a class. You have to tell it is protected. Okay.
Okay.
And by default, it is since it is static, it is public. Okay. Whenever you're writing something static, it has to be it has to be public. Yeah. So this is all about the data type. Now let's next is a lot of things, but as and when it comes, it will come. I will explain, but these are the major things. Okay.
Okay.
Now we have to cover the operators and loops. So instead of this, let's take um, another method. Okay. So yeah, and another thing is that our main method is since static. I cannot write a non-static method. Okay. So since today we are only covering the method, I will discuss only one method. Okay. So so don't ask me why I'm writing a static, because I have to call this method from my main method. Main method is static, so I have to declare a static method. That means you cannot call a non-static method from a static method. You can call, but you have to call using creating an object. Directly you cannot call.
Oh, if you
Okay,
mention
although
a static, you can call directly, you
yeah,
said.
although they yeah, what happens is when you are in a class,
Hmm.
when you are inside a class, okay, non-static class, uh, mm, uh, all the methods inside the class can call each other. Okay, fine.
Hmm.
But the moment you declare a method is static, other method cannot be called. They has to be called static, or you have to create an object of the class and then call object dot method name. Okay, you understood?
Yeah.
Okay, little bit, right? I understand. But whenever you will cover the class concept, we will cover again. Again, we will come to this concept. Okay. Just I'm starting with the basics. So let's focus on the data type and the for loop, while loop, all these things. Okay. So the static things is more important when you go on the class level. So for the timing, just think that I need to declare static method. Now I have to declare something called I want to test the for loop. Okay. So how to I declare a variable. So for loop is very easy. What I can do is I can write for integer x equal to 0, x less than 10, x plus plus. Okay. And then I can
Hmm.
write so dot right line x, and then okay, I did not write for it. Okay. Hmm. I'm calling this method in from the main method because main method is starting point. I cannot skip it. Yeah. So let's run and see. Hmm. What happened? Yeah, you can see that 0, 1, 2,
Yeah.
3 up to 9 is being loaded. Now I this for loop I can write in declare integer here, or I can declare integer x here also.
Hmm.
See, I have declared integer over here, but this is the scope is inside the main method. So I'm declaring integer another method. So this scope is here. So there is no interference. If the x is declared outside, you get a alert.
Hmm.
Yeah, you'll get an like warning. Okay. list. Yeah. If I write the same, since it is declared here, if I write X, it will give error. It is declared 2 times. Below is giving error. So at that's why it is another variable count. Okay. And you can use this count here.
Yes.
This is another way. Okay. Oh, sorry. Control KC, paste, paste, paste. Oh, so same thing. There is one other something called for each. Okay, for each applicable to the list, but since which will cover in the collection section, but since it is important, I'm explaining the for loop. I will explain this one also, and this will more than for loop will be using for each. Okay, so don't get confused. I'm just declaring and just follow the syntax. Okay, I'm declaring a list of type integer. And I'm adding some value to it. One. Don't want to make too complicated for you. So more than for you have to use for each. Okay. This we are this we will discuss more. Like you'll understand more. We'll keep on using, but you'll understand more when we'll go for the collections. Okay. Now, what you have to do is li int dot. There's a method for each of the collections called for each. Okay. This is the way also you can use, or you can write for each. The keyword is for each. Integer I in li int. Li int is my collection variable, okay, or list, okay, and then I can write. This is also another way, okay. So see, it is again printing, right? So this is also another way. Yeah. Now we will discuss on the while loop. It's fine, right? You are able to get, or it's getting too much? I think this is very basic, right? For loop, while loop. I'm just refreshing your memory, I guess. Yeah. So count, then there's something called while and do while. Okay, so I'm first I'll explain while I is count is less than 10, keep on printing. This syntax you know, right? Should I explain this syntax?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah, while and then I need to increase the count. Otherwise, and while loop is very dangerous because see here actually we write a check. Yeah, without this check also it will run. We can keep this one, right?
Yeah.
It will keep on running, but it will go to infinite. But mostly for loop, we know we follow the convention that declaration, increment, like check, increment, declaration, check, increment. But here actually there is nothing like that. We just only go for a check, but we are not incrementing. The check is not applied, or information is not applied. Then it will go for infinite for loop. Some places they use infinite for loop, okay, where they can forcefully shut down the program. Okay, I can shut down this method from outside, then I can allow it to use while loop. Okay, because I know I can shut it down. But if there's no check on the method, it can go for a method can run anytime. And if it is using infinite for loop, you may get memory out of exception. So you have to be very careful. And I would suggest in most of the cases either use for or for each. Okay. Yeah. So this is another way. Then another is do while. This is actually we need to understand. Okay, sorry, I used it. Yeah. So what is the difference between these two? See, while loop here is as normal for loop. I declare a variable, I'm checking it, I'm doing some operations, then I'm incrementing it. Okay.
Mm.
If your syntax is different, but it is same as for loop. Okay. Do while what will happen if your condition also not satisfied? Means let's say my count is let's say I'll use another counter instead of count one. I'll use count one. Okay. Let's say I have declared 11. That means if I use here write 11, this condition is failed, right?
Mm.
That means it will not go inside and it will not print. Here at least it will print 1. Okay, we will see this one.
Loop.
So
Yeah.
to see this, I am just what I'll do is I'll comment this console.writeLine and other places also. Then I'll call test while loop. Okay. So what I'm expecting is that at least you should print 11.
Yeah.
It printed, right? But if you do the same thing here, it will not print. It did not print, right?
Yeah.
So at least if the condition is not satisfied, at least print go inside the loop once. Then use do while, otherwise use while. Or to be safer side, use for loop. Okay. So and for loop it is not necessary. Okay, you can skip this one also. Means this is convention, but you see I'm not getting any compilation error below, right? Here
Mm.
in the section it shows you compilation error. So you can skip this section also. But for loop by default everybody uses like this, so it is very safer side rather than using while loop. Okay, and the next is if concept we'll cover later. Yeah. Another important aspect of the variable declaration I forgot to mention is the another very tricky keyword is called where. Okay. So
Okay.
sometimes you're not sure about the variable type, or I'm very lazy enough to declare. You simply use where. But the thing is that when you declare where, you have to compulsory assign some value, otherwise it will not know. Okay. So since you have written one, it will understand you have written integer type. Now I want to
Mm.
declare a float type. Float type means okay, I'm just doing var one. To L means it will take it as a long type or double.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to take mention as double, then D. So most of developers nowadays using this var. Okay, instead of writing integer, because sometimes it may be integer double or something. I just write var. Okay. So var also where here also you can write var. Please understand it is this one. Okay. Sorry, not here. Here. Okay. So you can use var. Var is very it's an anonymous types we can say. Anonymous types means it is until you assign a value, it is not know, or any kind of data type you can use. But the thing is that you have to compulsory assign a value. types. There is anonymous types. Okay. There is another called dynamic also. So yeah, dynamic is what happens. You can run on runtime. You can assign a value. So you let's say you don't want to assign a value. You don't know. Like
Mm.
you are reading a file and then you may get an object. You may get integer. You may get any type. Okay. So in that case, use dynamic type. And dynamic type also you do not need to declare a value. So that's the difference between this one. In var also like anonymous, dynamic also anonymous, but dynamic you do not need to assign a value. But in var, if I don't assign a value, let's say, and just write like this, I'll still get compilation error. But here I did
Okay.
not get. Okay. Okay. So why we need dynamic type? Dynamic. See in this like then there's somebody will questions that okay, same thing object type also does, right? Object X,
Mm.
object obj, that's 11. Okay. Yeah. So what is the difference between these two? So what happens is when is something you are declaring object type, it is actually there's no type associated with it. Okay, type means although I send one, still it is object type. It's every time it will be object type. Okay,
Okay.
it is object type. But dynamic type, what happens is when you go in runtime, and in runtime, like you are running, I will not assign. I'll run if I will call a method. If that method will return, method may return a string, may integer, may return a long. If it is written integer, at that point of time, dynamic type will convert itself into an integer. Okay.
Okay.
If it returns float, it will convert itself in the float on runtime. Okay, when the program is running. Okay. So it will be assigned a fixed type. But in case of object, wherever you assign during runtime or not runtime, static, or like during compilation or during acting the program, it will be object type. Okay. You have to convert to specific type. Like I want to convert it to using typecasting or unboxing, you have to convert to an integer of float, then I can do some operations like you can still do operations, but you can do a specific type operations. Like I want to add, I'll assign an object. I want to typecast that object to an integer, then I will add that integer or something. But dynamic type, what happens is straightforward. If you receive a value and you receive integer, it will become integer. So if you do dynamic one and plus dynamic two, then it will be integer one, integer two. Okay. So dynamic time, uh, uh, whenever it receives a value, it converts to that thing.
Okay.
Variable also does the same, but variable, what happens, you have to compulsorily give a value when you declare it. Okay. So these are the two where dynamic and object difference. Got it?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what happens, and now is loops I've covered. Then we have to check some if else condition. Public static void test condition. Okay. So to check conditions, I can use if. Let's say I'll write var 1 is equal to 1. So if var 1 is less than 2, I will write okay. So this is one way to write the if else. Okay. Hmm. whenever any compilation of the program stops, that you already know, right? So it is showing now. Uh, I can remove. I can write like the same thing using without using this one. Okay.
Mm. Okay.
Huh. So what is the difference between these two? If only a single line of logic, then use this. Use without braces. But I have multiple logic. Like if it is less than two, then I'll declare a variable where temp is equal to one, where temp two is equal to three. Then console dot write line. I have multiple lines. Then I have to use curly braces. Okay, I have to use curly braces. Got it? So
Yeah.
now the question is that this where can I access this temp and temp to outside? No, because the scope is within the curly braces.
Mm.
Okay. So whenever you are having a while loop or loop if conditions, whatever you decide declare inside the curly braces, the scope remains within that curly braces. Okay, of that variable.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the variable object, whatever it is. Hmm. So now if else, if like if less than not less than not less than two, then I want to print something else. So you can
Mm.
write the same thing using else condition. You know, but I'm just refreshing the memory. So if I declare this three, it will show like this. Okay, where is one is less than two? Where is it? So yeah, if it is less than two, mm, where one is equal to three, and what it print, it will put the breakpoint and check. So this breakpoint thing I will explain in a later class. Okay? Yeah, it is printing, right? Okay, I have written the condition in the wrong way. So it is less than, and it is if else. Now something is case statement, means case where, mm, where one I forgot the syntax. Okay, let me check.
Switch case, huh?
Switch case. You know,
Yeah.
I but I need to tell you because something I need to tell you on that.
Okay.
Let me copy directly the syntax. Okay, I don't want to waste your time. Hmm. Yeah, switch case. So yeah, this is the one I want to tell you, the default condition. Okay, so expression is, you not need this also. Sometimes you can write like simply also. Oh, let's just need that. Recently I'm using JavaScript more, so getting confused. Okay, so yeah, if it is one, then print one, and then break. Okay, this break also I need to tell you, right? 2. Okay. So what it does is say I am check this variable. If the variable is 1, print 1, it means check this whatever it is. Okay, check this variable, take this variable.
Mm.
Condition check with the case 1 means case 1 means I can maybe I can check with something like case less than 3 of okay, so this one, right? Like you have to do what I meant to say, you need to do static check. Static check means you want to check with multiple conditions. Okay.
Mm.
Means
You have some
but,
default conditions to check upon.
no. What I meant to say is like you have multiple conditions, but default like hard-coded conditions. Then you can go for this one.
Switch
Okay.
case.
Yes,
Yeah.
switch case, and yeah, you do not case does not make. Then you go for it. This one default case. But here, everywhere you need to mention a break. Okay.
Mm.
This
Yeah.
is important. This is I want to tell you since you know, but sometimes they may ask you what is the use of default. Then you need to tell. Okay. And there is
Okay.
one more use of break in this break. Okay. Where is the use? Let's say I have a while loop. Okay. This is actually very important. Break and something called continue. So when one less than 100, increment where plus plus. I can write plus plus and minus minus. You know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, right? So I'm not covering that one. So where plus plus. So now if where 1 equals to 50, then break. Okay. Otherwise, keep on writing this value. Means you are doing some conditional check, correct? Uh, conditional check, and you're looping with some variable, some with some data, and you can once you and inside that loop you're checking some conditions, and upon the conditions met, instead of looping, you have to break. Sometimes people what to do is they do some pattern matching. Like I'll give a list, and if x is equals to 90, then give me the 90. So what happens is they outside they declare a variable. Okay, outside the while loop, uh, like output, and if where matches output is equal to where 1 means I want to find some value.
Mm.
Uh, okay, I want to find a value. So I got my value in the output. I can print outside of the loop also, right?
Yeah.
Means if the where contains this one, okay, it is unsigned sign. So what I'll do, console.writeLine doesn't take unsigned. So if I get 50, then print the 50 outside of the loop. The problem was that even after getting 50, I'll keep on looping, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to break the loop if I get some match. Then I want to break. Okay.
Mm.
And there is something called continue also. So opposite of break is continue. Means if you let's say mm, um, if how can I tell you? If var equals to 50, then you're breaking. But if it is if there's some operations beyond that. Let's say what I do is I'm doing uh, output is equal to or string is equal to string result, and try to understand this one. Okay, result is equal to something. Okay, so if I get this result, I say result is equal to match Okay, and then I break. But
Mm.
sometimes what happens is, even after, what happens is, you there's some logic written after you found this match. That logic should not be executed. Means, let's say I do output is equal to output plus plus. So what will happen is, in this case, you found the result, but still it will output will be like this to below to logic will be executed, right? Now I
Mm.
want to skip this logic. Then what I'll do is I'll use the statement as continue. Okay, continue means what? I'll come here, I'll get the match, I'll assign the value here. That means again I'll the loop will continue, but these two lines will be skipped for that match.
Okay.
Okay. In the next loop, it will be added. Okay. So that's the use of break and continue. But break usually is very less. So I'll give a better example. Okay, not now. Hmm.
Okay.
Mostly like while loop for loop, what we do is we'll looping something where we'll do some condition checking. If my condition is matched, I'll do some operation, I'll exit using break. If the condition is matched, I want to check the next variable, but I don't want to execute any logic after that, whatever written after that match. So I'll use continue. Continue means what? The logic will be skipped. I will go to the next variable inside the next
Well.
variable or next condition in
Mm.
the loop. Okay. So that's the thing. So I think it's more than 1 hour, 40 minutes. So let's stop. Next class onwards, Monday we'll cover on the class,
Okay.
methods and classes. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
Actually, I
So,
had one question also.
hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You were saying like .NET is platform independent, like cross-platform.
Yeah, it is.
So when if you write a console application and even that is going to give you executables or
Yeah, it will give executables, but you need to target this one. So what happens is, it has actually two level of compilation now. Earlier, what happens is, um, earlier applications, it has actually a broader concept. I just will it will do two level of compilation. Two levels in what? In .NET framework, you compile to generate a DLL, and that DLL will run on the .NET framework. Okay. In
Mm.
case of this one, in case of .NET Core, what happens is it generates generates a DLL or a executable, which again will be compiled based on the platform. Okay, let's say you are running on the Windows platform, so that again the Windows platform will recompile and run. Okay, even if it is on a written in low level language, that again will be recompiled. Same goes for your Linux. You want to run that program on Linux, you have the Linux that .NET framework installed on the Linux, .NET Core installed on Linux will recompile and run. So two level compilation happens. So whenever you write a language, you will get a package or executables. But how the executables will run it depends on the which platform you are running, and they will do their own level of compilation, because when they will do the compilation, they will create the code which is executable, final executable code. Okay. So when we are running, we are not actually generating a final executable code. We're generating a first level, and then again the .NET compiler will run, and .NET framework will run and create the executable which is dependent on that operating system or that platform. Okay. When we will package this to a Linux, the runtime on the Linux will recompile and run on that platform. So two level of compilation happens. Okay.
okay.
So you can run your application in console application. Although it is a console application, you can run in .NET Core. Not only console, your console application, web application also they're running in .NET Core. And why? Because one factor is that Windows application servers are very costly. So when you're writing web applications, your MVC applications, uh, if you host it in Linux systems, it is very cheap, cost effective, because
Mm.
Linux is open source, right? And
Mm.
not only .NET, non-.NET like non-tech apps of technologies also they run Linux. So Linux servers are more in quantity, and when you deploy in cloud or something, they you may host in the Linux systems. Okay, so that will save your cost. Um, so that's why it is. That's why, like, it's more of a commercial consideration then to make it like they are saying that it's platform independent, but they're more only targeting the service which is cheap, so that the application which is written in .NET will be cheap to run and maintain. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing. And
Okay.
yeah, I will. What I'll do is I pasting this code in the chat. You just copy and try. Okay. But
Okay.
I would say you write your own. Don't copy and try my applications. You try on your own, so that it will be okay. It's maximum size. So I will. What I'll do is I will send as a file.
Okay.
I will send that file in the same location and I'll copy the location. You can copy.
Yeah.
Okay. But do practice. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I can give you a task. You can just create a Fibonacci series. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay then. Anything else? You practice, and next session onwards, first 5-10 minutes, we'll have a questionnaire sessions. Whatever you have any doubts, we'll clarify. Then only we'll move to the next session. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.